Today we're going to review Chapter 5, which is basically we're going to cover the 3 different equations that we can have when we have a line on a graph, okay? So, example 1, I want you to go ahead and write this down. Example 1, write in slope-intercept form. First of all, I need to know what slope-intercept form is, and you should have had this memorized, okay? But in case you did not, this is slope-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, the only 2 things you need to know in order to write slope-intercept are m, which is my slope, and b, which is my y-intercept. That's why it's called slope-intercept form, okay? So they want us to write this information that they've given us into slope-intercept form. Well, like I said, the only 2 things you need to know for slope-intercept are m and b. Look what they've given you, m and b. So that makes it really easy. All I've got to do is plug in the numbers. So I'm going to write y equals m, which is 3, x, and then plus b. So since it's a negative 2, I'm just going to write minus 2. You could put plus negative 2 there if you wanted to, but you don't have to. And that's slope-intercept form. That's all they want you to do, okay? So that's simple. But this is where people get confused, is they go, oh, my y-intercept is negative 2, so they plug that in for the letter y. But that's not what you do. Remember, y-intercept is always b. Okay, so this next one, they tell us that m is 1/2 and b is 6. So Danielle, tell me, how would I write that in slope-intercept form?
Y equals 1/2 x plus 6.
Perfect. 1/2 x plus 6. Okay? So if I were to graph this, if I were to say graph it now, which we don't have to, what would you graph first? The y-intercept or the slope? Y-intercept always goes first, so I put that dot on my y-axis and then I use my slope to go rise over run to find the next point. Okay? Example 2. All right, the next formula that we need to know is called point-slope formula. You need to have this one memorized as well. Okay, this is point-slope formula. Is everybody ready? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So you need to memorize that formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, just like on slope-intercept form, you need to know the slope, which was m, and the intercept, which was b. So on this one, point-slope form, I need to know a point and a slope, okay? This y and this x here represent my point. And you say, well, what's the difference between the first one and the second one? The ones with the numbers on them, y1, x1, is what you're going to plug the numbers in for. The other ones stay just like they are. And then the other thing you need is a slope. So you need a point and a slope, exactly what the name says. So in order to do that, I need to see. They've given me a point and they've given me a slope. So all I've got to do is plug it in. This 0, remember, stands for x. This 3 stands for y. Again, you plug in that x and that y for the x and the y that has a number beside it. That's the easiest way for me to tell you to remember that. So I'm going to write y minus, what would I plug in for y1? What number in that point represents y? 3 equals m, what did I get for m? Negative 2 times x minus, what number am I going to plug in for x1? 0. This is point-slope form right here. All you got to do is plug it in. Okay, you don't got to solve it. You don't got to do distributive property. There's nothing to do. This is your final answer. You need a point and a slope, which is exactly what they gave us. All right, so let's do this next one. Again, I'm going to use that same formula. All right, what am I going to plug in for y1, Tommy? Negative 1. But look at the problem. I have y minus y1. Well, what happens when y1 is already negative? Make it a positive, exactly. So I'm going to put y plus 1. Does everybody see why I had to do that? Because it was minus negative 1. Two negative signs always make a positive. Equals m, what did I get for m? 1 times x minus negative 1. So what am I going to do there too? Add 1. Make it a positive. And this is my point slope form. Okay, example 3. So now they've given us 2 points and they want us to write it in slope-intercept form. Remember, we just got finished saying, what are the 2 things I need for slope-intercept form? I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. Did they give me either one of those? No. They gave me 2 points. So what I've got to do is I've got to use the formula I learned yesterday to find the slope. Who remembers what that formula to find the slope is? Devin?
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Perfect. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to use this point, x1, y1, x2, y2, to plug it in and get my m. Okay? So I'm going to write m equals y2, which is 8, minus y1, which is 1, over x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is negative 1. So what happens there? Make it a positive. 8 minus 1 is 7. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I found my slope. Now, the easiest way for me to tell you to do this is to, there's 2 different ways you can do it. And I'm actually going to teach you both, and I'm going to let you decide which one you think is easiest. The first way that you can do is you can go take the formula y equals mx plus b and plug in what I know. I know an x, which is this. I know a y, which is this. And I know an m, which is this right here. So I can go 1, because this is my y, equals 7 over 3 times x, which is negative 1, plus b. Because remember, the 2 things I need to know to write slope-intercept are slope and a y-intercept. Now I know my slope, but I don't know the y-intercept, which is b. So I've got to plug it in. So this is all you got to do is you plug this in and you solve for b. So I do negative 1 times 7/3, which is negative 7 over 3, plus b. What would I do to get b by itself? Add 7 over 3. Can I add 1 and 7 over 3? No, I need to do common denominators. So common denominator would be 3. So I have 1 basically plus 7 over 3. So make that 1 over 1. Multiply the bottom by 3 and the top by 3. 3 over 3 plus 7 over 3 equals 10 over 3. So b is equal to 10 over 3. Now I have my slope and my y-intercept, so I can plug it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals 7 over 3x plus 10 over 3. Okay? Okay, so that's the first way that you can solve to find slope-intercept. This is the second way. After I've found m, okay, I'm going to erase all this. After I've found my slope, I can use the point slope formula to solve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And again, I'm going to use this point here. I can use this one or this one. It doesn't matter for x1 and y1. And then I have my m. So I'm going to write y minus 1, because that's y1 there, equals m, which was 7 over 3, times x minus x1. Well, since that's a negative 1, I put plus 1. And all you're going to do here is you're going to do distributive property. Y minus 1 equals 7/3 x plus 7 over 3. And then I'm trying to get the y by itself, because remember, it's y equals mx plus b. So I add 1 to both sides, and I get y equals 7 over 3x plus, remember now I've got to change it to common denominators, which we just did. So that made that 3 over 3. So I have plus 10 over 3. And that's how you could also do it to slope-intercept form. Okay? Okay, so let's do the next one. All right? We have 0 and 3 and 4 and 1. In order to put it in slope-intercept form, I need a slope and a y-intercept. So before I do anything, let's find the slope. I'm going to use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I know this is x1, y1, x2, y2. I plug it in. 1 minus 3 over 4 minus 0. What's 1 minus 3? Negative 2 over 4, which equals what? Negative 1/2. Okay, negative 1/2. So I've got that. Now I'm going to erase everything that we just did over here. Okay, and we're going to use slope-intercept form first so I can find b. So I'm going to use one of these points, which is 0 and 3. Let's choose that one. I'm going to use slope-intercept, which is y equals mx plus b. Remember, I know m and I know an x and a y, so I'm going to plug that in. What is the y that I know in this first point? 3. Very good. What is the m that I've just found out? Negative 1/2. What is the x that I know from my point? 0. And then I don't know b. That's the whole point. I'm trying to figure it out. Okay? What's 1/2 times 0?
0.
3 equals 0 plus b. Well, basically, when something equals 0, I can just cancel it out and leave it. So what does b equal? 3. That one was much easier, right? Didn't have to get any common denominators or anything like that. So now, this is a part where you can't forget. Because a lot of people go, okay, I know what m is. I know what b is. I'm done. No. The whole point was they wanted you to write it in slope-intercept form. So I've got to write it into y equals mx plus b form. So what am I plugging in and where? What would my final answer look like?
Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3.
Perfect. Negative 1/2 x plus 3. Okay? So that is my final answer there. Okay. So the next type of formula we need to know is standard form. So remember, we've learned slope-intercept, which is y equals mx plus b. Point slope, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then finally, standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So basically, what they're telling you are the x and the y always have to be on one side of the equation together, and the number that is by itself, or c, always needs to be alone on the other side. Okay? So I know that the x and the y have to be on this side by themselves. So in this equation right here, what do I need to move? If I want to get the x and the y together over here, what should I move? Negative 6x, exactly. How would I move that? Add it. So I plus 6x, which cancels out, plus 6x. And remember, x is always written first, so I write 6x. What would I write in front of the y? Plus y. You could write a 1 in front of it if you want to. You don't have to. Equals 12. Guess what? That's standard form right there. The x and the y have to be on one side together, and the number without a variable has to be there on the other side by itself. Now, there's one tricky thing to standard form. You can never have a fraction in front of the first x, and you can never have a negative number in front of the first x. So what if I were to give you this problem? I'm going to erase this for a second. If I were to give you y equals 5x plus 10, okay, what would you do to put this in standard form? Remember, x and y have got to be together on the one side by themselves. So how would I get the x and y together? Danielle?
Since you have to subtract and it becomes a negative, don't you have to divide 5?
Well, I want to subtract 5x first to move it over. So I'm going to get negative 5x plus y equals 10. But I realize I cannot have that negative number. So what's the only way we know how to get rid of that negative 5? You can either divide by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1. It's the exact same thing. So I just like to say, okay, I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1. Because whatever you do to one side of the equation or one thing in the equation, you have to do to everything. Because think about it. What's negative 1 times negative 5? Positive 5. That gets rid of that. What's negative 1 times 1y? Negative 1y. What's 10 times negative 1? Negative 10. You may say, but then that changes everything else to a negative number. Doesn't matter. As long as this first number is not negative, that's all you care about. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? All right. That is the end of the review for Chapter 5.